birds. It's a beautiful morning out here. It's crispy. Let's get everything turned on. So I'm gonna roll out and pick up Team RR. It's about 10 Celsius thereabouts, and it's a cold 10 Celsius. So where we're going is gonna feel colder. So I'm nicely wrapped up. I'm wearing full tights. I didn't want to do any knee warmers or leg warmers because I'm not gonna be taking anything off. The high of the day will be barely 16 or 17 Celsius. That'll be long after I'm done riding, so no point to it.
On this ride, I left Northampton, rode into the woodlands, picked up Team RR, we headed down Research Forest to Fish Creek. The whole stretch was fast. I mean, it was like just a race pace all the way until we got out near Keenan. At 28:54, I stopped the filming, then I continued on my own through 1097 to the forest on Mount Pleasant Road. I went out and took the back way, took Forest Glen, and then cut down on Bethel Road, back on 1097. The day did not warm up like had been forecasted, and in fact we had some rain, so ended up being a little messy on the way back. But I think you would like the clips that I got. There are a lot of Dutch angles because that camera kept spinning around in my hand, and I was focused on putting down the power. So I called it Speedwork because that's really what it was. The group splattered all over the highway, and only a small fraction of the group ended up regrouping at 28:54 when they finally decided to regroup.
All right, legends. I just arrived at Crust Pizza. I'm entering the main parking area. Paul's not riding today, taking a day off. I see a few people over there already. So I just took my time on the warm up, kept the gears low, and just kept my legs loose. It's overcast today, so of course I'm wearing very visible colors. I'll try and get some clips for you all.
As I roll in here, you can see there's a good turnout.
Yeah. Good size group.
It's a lot of riders here today. That's
Good morning.
Michael on the right there.
Good.
I noticed he's wearing a balaclava, but summer tights.
So you're wearing a balaclava, but your legs are bare.
Just I have the tights in the car. I'm just too lazy to put them on.
So he said he's got a tights in the car, but he's too lazy to get them on. I don't understand that. If it's cold enough to cover your head like that with a balaclava, your knees should be covered. I'm wearing full tights. It never warmed up on this day. We're lucky if we got to 14C. And they were forecasting 18 or something like that. So
We're rolling out.
yeah, Paul's not riding today. He got a bit of the stomach flu, so he's taking a day off. So hopefully once he regains his strength and gets back on his regular program, he can join us. So if you're not well, you don't need to go ride. You're not missing anything. Let your body use the energy it has to allow yourself to heal. So he thinks it's something he ate that didn't agree with his stomach. So he's able to keep electrolytes down. I spoke to him after the ride, so he's doing okay. And he had other things going on too. He was probably going to take the day off anyway. So my gloves are, they have a surface on the inside that allows you to really get a good grip on the bar, but it does not agree with our camera stick. The stick has a different material on it that kind of slides around. So we got to get some interesting photographic angles without really trying. They're referred to as Dutch angles. It really puts you very close to the action, so I think you all will enjoy it. You feel like you're basically in the pack. And every time I became aware of it, I tried to straighten it out, but it would just revert to the same position.
Hey, where you been, man?
That's Abby. He's been out of town for a while.
Oh, okay.
He said he was in Maryland.
Welcome back.
He was gone for a few months. That's Dan Jaworski there.
Good.
That's Michael on the left that we're talking with in the parking lot. He's got a balaclava on with summer shorts. I think he's got it backwards. So it was cold the whole day. It did not warm up. You can see it's 9C. We barely got to 11 or 12 Celsius by the time the ride was over, and that was mid-afternoon. So it didn't warm up as forecasted. And then we got some moisture once I left the group and I was doing my own ride. Just enough to get the roads messy, you know how that works. And I didn't have mud guards or anything, so just required more cleanup than normal. No biggie. It wasn't any kind of rain that got you wet, just damp on the roads. Most of it was mist anyway.
Yeah, it's not too bad today. It's gonna warm up a little bit. But yeah, I just wore tights because it's not gonna get much above 63. You're not gonna overheat. No. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think I'm chatting with Michael here. Michael's from Austria. So we had a good turnout. There's another group up there, up front.
That looks like Mike Weingrad. He hasn't been around a while.
Yeah, it's good to see Mike. He'd been traveling a lot. He hadn't ridden with us in a while. Mike Weingrad. He showed up and he rode well. So the group splits here, and as we come to this light, this is the stuff that people complain about us cyclists. We want to be respected, but we don't follow the rules of the road. You see those cars going across? Mike Weingrad runs that red light. The rest of these guys just follow. Even though you're on the shoulder, you're still subject to the law. And you see, I go ahead and do a track stand here, and the light changes, and then I go. So I have to work and catch back up. But this was not cool. I mean, we shouldn't do this. And we end up doing something again when we get on 2978. Now, it's one thing if, let's say, the group is together and then, let's say, the two leaders go through the light and you go as a train, but we're split apart. We really should have waited. And in addition, you didn't see it on camera, there were a couple of pedestrians on the right on the walking path. They looked at us like, is this a red light or what? You know, I could tell by their looks. So just to save face, I did a track stand. I was the only one who stopped for the light there. But then when we get on the highway, it's the same thing again. So there's a tendency that when the group is moving, people treat it like it's competition, but the roads are not closed. You don't have officers at the corners. So you really can't do that legally. You have to stop for these lights. And we're getting a reputation as cyclists that we don't stop for stop signs, we don't stop for lights, because even though you look and it's clear, you should at least act like you're slowing down and look before you go through. Don't just maintain your speed and blow through the sign. We have a lot of riders that do that in our area. So this is something that we need to be cognizant of, because if we get a reputation as lawbreakers, if we're involved in a crash, there's a tendency for people to lean towards the other road users and not towards us. So we really have to rehabilitate our reputation. Yeah, I mean, as I speak, when we get on 2978, you will see the same thing again because we start to chase up because the group splits. And really, sometimes you're going to have to either wait for the other people that didn't make the light versus forcing them to run the light just to stay in the pace line. I'm fiddling with the camera. I think it's slipping or whatever, and I'm trying to get a position to where I can just kind of set it and forget it. And that's what I do here. So we have a full group up ahead. We'll catch them at the light after we turn right at the next intersection. We go about maybe a kilometer and we get to 1488. That's where we do a full regrouping. This is something I don't like to do as well. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no law against it. But you see riders in the new lane that's on open. Be careful when you do that because as you turn and come back into traffic, this is Egypt lane, you're not really part of traffic beyond those barrels. So I don't like to go beyond those barrels unless the road's really busy. And then when you're coming back on the left of the barrels, you've got to check. Because you have left the open lane. This is the open lane here. And a lot of times when you do that, you need to be careful because they're still working there and they may leave debris and other things in the work area. So you don't get a puncture. This is Michael that I was giving a hard time. He's wearing a balaclava, but his legs are exposed. So, and you all heard his, if you watched the banter in the parking lot, he said, I just too lazy to put on the tights. The tights are in my car because he drove to the parking lot. What I find is that unless you're going to be riding really hard, a lot of times you want to kind of cover your legs. And even if you're riding hard, you really have to protect your knees. That was Mike Weingrad there that I went by in the blue shirt. I like to cover my knees anytime it's below 65 Fahrenheit, which is about 18 Celsius, unless it's a warm 18 Celsius. Because there are times when the wind's blowing from the south, and even if it's 10C, it'll feel warmer. But when there's a doubt, I just put on a pair of tights or leg or knee warmers. I'm gonna try to be warm and pull it off later.
Hey, you guys need to let this driver go.
So I mentioned that they should let this driver go because this driver was in the middle of both group of cyclists. That's the front group that we just caught up to. This driver is very patient, but this driver is turning in about probably 500 meters. The driver lives in this neighborhood we're going through.
It's not that fast, guys.
They're talking, this guy was talking about the ride. He said his ride has gotten very fast. We're doing 26, 27 average. So I told him, nah.
Only doing a mile in a 10K.
So this driver is behind them. We're behind the driver. In a little bit, you will see me call out a warning because the driver signals that he's going to turn in this driveway. But one of the guys riding here with us, I don't believe he's paying attention because he comes by me. I can sense his speed and his momentum. And you hear me say, watch out, watch out, watch out. I feel like if I hadn't said that, he probably would have hit that car. It's the guy in the chartreuse on my left. He and Mike are talking. This is the guy right here on the right now.
Watch out, watch out, watch
See?
out, watch out.
He was going too fast and that car just turned the signal on. And he scared me. And you saw Mike S5 on that motion with his hand, like a pushing motion. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't like to take chances. I ride too frequently to cut things that close.
Car up.
there's somebody having a garage sale, and so we have to use this other side of the lane. This driver waits on the left there. These guys are parked shopping on the left. I'm just sitting on the back right now, getting everybody in, because as soon as we start going, it's like the group just splinters. And you see additional people pull out of the pace line once they realize, man, this is just too fast. And then we don't see them, I don't see them again, because even after we regroup, they were just too far back when we group at the end. I didn't expect the ride to be as fast as it turned out today, but we had a lot of fast riders, or riders that wanted to go fast. So I just sat in because I'm doing 6 hours plus today. It took me about 6 hours or so to do the 100 miles. And these guys are not going as far. There's no way I should be riding a century at the pace that they were holding.
You guys have to at least act like they're slowing down.
So once we get on 2978, the same thing will happen again. The group splits, because as soon as some of them turn and they just start to go with no thought to the rest of us that could not turn with them, and so we get splits. And so people don't want to sit at a light because it would just be harder to catch back up. But that's no excuse. I mean, you're still required to obey the traffic laws. There's a crew that's been out here patching holes, because I noticed just as we went around that turn, that guy pulled off. I'm not sure why, but he told us to keep going. I'm not sure why this guy got in the grass. But at the overpass a few weeks ago, Mark hit a hole, and that hole has been patched. We get there today, I'm looking for it, and there's a patch area. This is where it happens again. So right here, the guys at the front get the turn before we get there. There's a few of them that have already gotten on the road. One guy is going. They're gonna go, and as you come through, the traffic situation can change. Unless there's somebody with authority has closed the intersection, each of you have to check to make sure it's safe to get on the road. So as we start to go, that light in the distance will change to red before we get there. And there's a bit of a gap between the groups, so it's kind of like we can't really say we're a train and this is the caboose, because we've got a gap. That's the gray area there. You can see we're not all together, but they're riding like we're all together, so we all go through. And that's something that you can get stopped for that, because if we were all together, then it would make sense. The little guys are going as if to say no one else is here, and and from this point on, it's just like a hammer fest. We're doing 25 miles an hour, so we stay in this range. We're trying to catch up here. That's Jonathan. I got his name. You'll hear Dan Jaworski tell me his name. But Dan watches this film, and he tells me the guy in the red bike, his name is Jonathan. And I thanked him. So Jonathan is pulling. Mark is sitting on his wheel. This is Robert LaPlante here, and I'm sitting on Robert's wheel. We stay in this formation for quite a while, quite some time. So I just have the camera planted on my left hand. I'm focusing on writing. Now Robert is talking to Mark, but I don't think Mark is talking. Mark is focused on writing. But you will hear Robert continues to talk. I don't know what he's talking about, but he's still talking. Okay, Mark acknowledged him there. But as we continue to ride faster and faster, he's still chatting. I'm like, geez, y'all. After a while, Mark just kind of gives him his ear, I guess, but he does not really say much. He just focuses on riding. We're doing about 26 miles an hour, thereabouts. And there is no tailwind here. The sky was very interesting the entire ride. You'll see right now it's just all gray clouds, and then you'll get like a hazy grayish hue into blue. Just beautiful. We're using a right lane here. This lane is newly open for the northbound side. You know, not very recent. A few months now, I think. I'll move over to kind of get a shot of the front, because otherwise it's just kind of boring just filming the line. So you can see up there, we've got quite a few riders. I stayed to the left to avoid using my brakes. And once my momentum drops, I slip behind Robert. So we stay on the shoulder as much as possible. And when people pull off, you can see they're in the main lane. But basically, the way we're riding in this group, it's better to probably just use the lane. Abby's back in town. I have no idea what he's doing. I don't think he knows what he's doing. He rides up there. You'll see him. He rides up there. He sits on the left in the wind. And then after a while, he will ask somebody to let him get in the line. So I'm not sure what he's doing. But then in a few kilometers, well, maybe 3 kilometers or so, he leaves a gap that Mark has to close. So I don't know what he's doing, what that's about. He's still sitting in the wind. I'm riding an 83 to 85 in gear, something like that. A 53.19, a 53.17, I think. Probably a 53.16. I find a gear and I just put it there for most of this stretch. I don't do a whole lot of shifting, so you'll see my cadence go up and down between 70 to 95 or so. You can see the pace is very sustainable. We're holding 25 to 26 miles an hour. I'm about a foot off of Robert's wheel here. Sitting in the pace line at sweet spot. don't know if you saw Abbey Point. He's trying to get in the line. That wind's hitting him. Or is he waving people up? I don't know what he's doing. He's still sitting on the left. But he's coming backwards a little bit. I couldn't make rhyme or reason out of what he was trying to do. He's talking to somebody right now. Now he gets in the line in front of Mark. That's not a very good use of your energy. So what you saw him do, don't do that. That makes no sense. You want to chat, do it when the pace is slow. You're going to go to the front, you need to be moving up in the line or go to the front to pull the group. Use the energy for that. Don't waste it to sit out in the wind. See my metrics on my head unit. I'm fitting it with the camera so I lose a little bit of ground and then I just ride back up to his wheel. So right here, I'm in zone 4 now. About the bottom of zone 4. That lady pulled out the pack right there. We didn't see her again. I think it was just too fast for her. She realized I'm just gonna back off and hold a more reasonable pace. The road goes up, everybody hammers. You look at the watts, it'll be at least 300. That's Dan J pulling off the front. The effort was high. I didn't have time to flip the camera around and check on anybody in the back. Once I realized the camera was doing this, I would move it back. You see my hand? I basically moved it back because it's in my left hand and it just kept rotating because the handle is very slick against the surface of my glove. That's what was doing it. With our summer gloves, we don't have that problem with this. But, you know, I was more interested in keeping the effort going. You can see how close I am to Robert here. The road goes up here, we put the power down. This is Ridge Lake Shores coming up on the right here. This subdivision was ridden in there before. It's about a 2.5–3% climb. As soon as you go, it levels off. And right here it's flat, and it's gonna dip down for a bit, and then it will kick up after we pass. I forgot the name of it. I think it's Trace Boulevard. So it's always up and down on Fish Creek, but you're still gaining elevation. Like right here is a slight grade. That's the gap that Abby left that Mark has to close. See that? I don't know what he's doing. He's not tired. He could have just sat there. I'm not sure why he left that gap where he's going. So he rode to the front, sat in the wind, gets in the line, leaves a gap, then drifts back. Should have just stayed back there. So when you're riding, you have to watch people like that, because if they're leaving gaps and it surprises you and you don't have the effort left to close that gap, it can cause you to get dropped. You can see the line. It's tight. It's one of the nice things I like about the change in this group. We get to hold a pace line all the way in. I think this guy's name is Darren. I heard him talking with Mike Weingrad. You'll hear him on tape. At this point, all you want to be thinking about is what's coming, if you're familiar. They're pointing at that car. The guy stopped like way before the intersection anyway. I mean, he saw us, so but that's good. You can't be too careful. The road goes up. Even though the overpass is coming, you need to focus on where you are now. And don't try to spin too small a gear thinking, oh, I'm going to save my legs. Because if you spin too small a gear, it can tax your aerobic system too much. So you got to get a good balance. So right here I shift up to a harder gear. I want to feel the gear because the effort is on. I'm going to put an arrow on the screen so you can see just the difference in watts as we go up this thing versus what we usually do. I think we get up to like, I think it's 4 to 600 watts in that range. That's Jonathan behind another guy up there. He's spinning a relatively small gear. So once we get on the steepest part, he will go harder. So watch the watts. 400 and something right now. 5 something. He's going harder already. It's over 600 watts. So you got to be ready to put the power down. Otherwise, you get gapped. So even though we're riding this hard, I just adjusted the camera there. So that's so much to keep up with, but I don't mind it. And then once we get over the overpass, it's like 500 something watts here, we keep going. The group has a little bit of a split. You'll hear Mark call for a regrouping in about maybe half a kilometer. I'm adjusting the camera there. This gives you a bird's eye view into what's going on. And we're just pouring it on. We don't care about the overpass. You see all those patches? They've patched those holes. The road was just all chopped up a couple weeks ago. So doing about 25, 26 miles an hour. When you're going this fast, you need to find the draft. You see me moving a little to the left, a little to the right. I'm just trying to see, okay, is this better? Is that better? I still stay a little off so I can see around Robert. And I'm just in a good spot. Nobody's slowing me down. I like following Robert because he keeps the pace line. And Mark's backed up. He let a gap open there.
Watch out, watch out.
So I was on his right. He didn't expect me to be there. So that's why I told him to watch out and said thanks. The group's all over. Mark says regroup, then you hear him say something about oxygen.
Take on oxygen.
He said take on oxygen. So I go ahead and soft pedal. You don't want to stop completely because even though he says regroup, this is Capitol Hill Road. There's a descent. It goes up before the descent. So right here, maybe 1 to 3%. I downshift and just kind of soft pedal to see what they're doing. Those guys are just a little off the road. They're not that far ahead. The camera has a wide angle. I just straighten the camera again. It was sliding on the side. It kind of tilts to the side, which gives unusual angles, but you know, they're called Dutch angles in photography, depending on the degree of the tilt. That's Abby. That's Dan, and that's Mike to the left of Abby. Dan's gonna ask me for Paul, and I tell him that Paul's not well. He says not COVID. I said no, he's got a stomach issue. He compliments me on my kit. Dan got the green shoe, green bars, the green little, the little strip on his pants, on the shorts. Then the helmet blends well. Yeah, Dan's pointing out all the obstacles, but I'm also looking around, and I'm trying to stay to the right of Abby. He complimented me on my kit.
He's not well.
Not COVID, huh?
No. Upset stomach.
So yeah, he asked for Paul, and I said he's not well. He says not COVID, is it? I said no, upset stomach. Just a stomach flu, one of those things, 24 hours that knocks you down and it kind of moves on. So, but he just didn't have any energy to come ride because when you have an upset stomach, you can't hold anything down. So he just been taking electrolytes. But what I was saying is I stayed to the right on the descent, so I don't have to use my brakes and I can see around people. So I'm going to talk to Mark, who sets up these rides, so we can have like maybe 2 speed groups, because we don't want to discourage the slower riders from coming, and at least, you know, just explain to them that okay, even if you fall off the first group, you'll know somebody else is behind you that you can hook up with to ride to the store. This is Ribbon Chapel Road. We're going to turn around. Mike goes back to town. There's only like 10 miles out here. That's a short ride. If you turn around, you maybe get 20. That's it. 20, 25 maybe, if that. So we turn this way. And this is an hour 25 into my 6.5 hour ride. So I know I got 5 hours left. That's why I just sit in. I don't pull. I'm just going to sit in. But even then, this is not the pace I want to hold for 6 hours, you know. Because even in a race, at times when the pace will drop down and then it heats up, it varies.
Where's your twin brother today? He's not riding, he's off. Huh? He's not here today.
That's Abby asking me, where's my twin? He's not here, he's off. Yeah, Mr. Ilunga was missed on the ride. I'm letting that guy know there's a car up because he's out there. I wonder if that's Jonathan. I don't think so. I think it's somebody else. I think it is Jonathan. Yeah, it is Jonathan. He just pulled off the front, so I guess. So this is like a hiatus in this group. So we're doing what? 18 miles an hour. This is the chance for you to drink, toss in a gel, because there's a climb coming, and on the climb you don't want to have stuff in your mouth. Not anything that fills up your mouth where you can't breathe. Spin the camera around a little bit. So right here I'm riding like a 53:17 or 53:19. I'm looking at the cadence and the speed. We're doing about 23 miles per hour. So probably a 19 or 17, one of those 80 to 84 inch gear. So I just put it in one gear, then I shift down if I need to one, or I shift up if I need to one, because these changes are not that dramatic. We're not going to like 7-8% from a flat road. They're gradual enough to where I just shift one or two in either direction. You don't have to think about it, just do it by feel. It's a four-way stop sign. Nothing's coming, so we'll go through as a caboose. Everybody's like, you know, the train, and we're the caboose of the train. Everybody goes through. So if you're riding in an unfamiliar area and you're not familiar with the course per se, all you need to do is look around the riders you're following, see what's coming. You don't need to be super familiar, but just stay alert. Like right here, we're going downhill, and if you look around these riders, you will see that it's going to kick up. And so you prepare yourself mentally for it. Because the mind, most of the time, the mind will quit before the body does. So here we go. We come to the climb. You can see my watts, 500 and something. You know, 500 and something watts. That's like, what, 4-5 watts per kilo. It's a lot. It's a lot of power put down. And so you have to know how long you can do that. So if you're training with a power meter, you got to train to where, how long can I sustain this kind of range? Then you can relax, because yeah, if you're in training, you know, 400 to 600 watts, that's hard. But if you know how long you can hold it for, you don't worry too much about it. We'll finish the climb. So you have to train appropriately depending on what kind of riding you're doing, and make sure that you're able to produce what you need to. I just go to the right and keep my momentum. This is a second climb, but it's nothing. It's like 3%. The other one was steeper and longer. We're going to be turning right. So the entire stretch we're riding between 23 to 27 miles per hour. Maybe on the overpass we'll probably climb it at 20, 21 miles per hour. Maybe. You see how this guy saw a gap in there and just took it? That's what you need to do. because for whatever reason causes the person behind you, he came off the front. You come off the front, take the wheel, get out of the wind. Plus, on top of that, if those guys force the pace, you won't have to chase. There's no point in hesitating. You know, I mean, it's one thing if you're in a breakaway and you want somebody to come through to work. That's different. I take the inside line. It just gives me a better angle. I don't really have to pedal that hard. And I'm right on his wheel when he comes back. Because the inside line is the shortest path. You know, I do that making sure, you know, I can see that there's no car coming in the other lane. And right here, I'm just looking for the cleanest parts of this road. It's got a lot of patina. So we're just avoiding the cracks and find the smoothest spots to ride on. This is where we start seeing some wet roads. You can see it's rained here. And I wasn't expecting any rain because it wasn't forecasted. It's always good to let people know there's a car up on the other side of the road, because in the group, people riding this hard, sometimes there's a lapse in attention. So you need to kind of wake them up. You know, just car up, car back. They need to hear that, especially car up, just in case somebody gets a little careless. Let them know. We're going to be turning left on Mill Route. I'm going to go to the right, stay on the outside, and carry a nice smooth line. I'm outside that guy. He's still going to be able to turn. I'm turning to the outside of him. That was the car that somebody called. When I said car up, because I saw the headlights as we went around the corner to let everybody know. I'm riding up to this guy down. I was messing with the camera and got gapped a little bit. That's why you save your energy. You need these little bursts to close gaps and, you know, go over, because this road is going up right here. You can see it. I like this angle here of the camera. It really puts you on top of the action right there. You can see everybody. We're working here. I'm in the bottom of zone 4. So I'm getting used to this more and more. I need to do this more often instead of just the long rides, because it's like the effort didn't seem as hard as it did a few weeks ago. Even though you ride a lot, you can't just eat just anything. My wife went and bought Snickers, and you know, I like Snickers, and I got crazy on them. I gained a couple of kilos without thinking about it. So you got to be careful. You know? So the last few weeks, I've avoided the Snickers bars. She bought the mini Snickers. I'd eat like 3 or 4 of them without thinking about it. And you can't do that. And I'm not riding a whole lot, you know, other than Saturday and Sunday. You know, during the week I get busy with other things. So yeah, I put on some kilos in no time. I run the credits here to thank our sponsors: Divine AG Church, Kish Fabrication, Senor Ilonga, and Joe Nanga. Of course, our channel members and our patrons for supporting Veloharmony on YouTube. Become a channel member. The link's in the description. And join us for our weekly premiere. Our members only premiere. The road goes up. Mark's driving the pace. This is Mill Route. A few weeks ago we stopped. We let them go right when we turn on the Mill Route. So I wanted to film this section. So everybody's riding hard the whole piece. So Jerry had told me one time, he said, if you think you're going to quit, just say, okay, 10 more seconds, 5 more seconds. Basically what he was saying is you challenge yourself mentally so you can hang on longer and longer, you know, within reason. If your form starts to deteriorate, you're not going to be teaching yourself anything. But that helps you to not quit too early.
Jonathan with a red bike?
Yeah, the red bike.
Gotcha.
This is where Dan told me that the guy's name. I'm glad he did. Jonathan's one of the ones driving the pace. He takes a lot of poles. He was the one pulling last week on 1486 after we turned off of Jackson. So it's good to know his name. So Mark pulls off. I go around him. I'm not sure if they're stopping at the corner or not. I pull over to the right to just kind of catch the wind. And I think at the corner they decide to stop and regroup. We got a few riders, but I think the riders were too far back because everybody's pretty much within sight. Everybody who's here, everybody's pretty much here. So I hope you all got a chance to get some K's in because this is part of what I did on Saturday.
No way.
Are we stopping?
We're gonna wait to see what Big Mike is.
Mike W?
Big Mike is right here.
So no matter what, make sure you get your K's in. That was Dave coming in there. Everybody else was pretty much here.